Good morning. Welcome into Morning Drive Tuesday, February the 7th, the year 2017. This is Studio AP, Damon Hack alongside Paige McKenzie and Chris DeMarco, fresh off a trip to the Super Bowl where you watched your nephew compete for the Atlanta Falcons. Your emotions watching him compete?
Wow, I'll tell you what, it was such an unbelievable game, and it looked like they had it. I mean, we were so happy for him, and then with about 17, 18 minutes to go in the game, Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does, and you could just feel the momentum being ripped from you. I have never probably been that dejected at a sporting event, like afterwards.
Wow.
Just for probably 20 minutes, I don't think anything was said, and we just sat there in our seats, just kind of with our heads down. It was pretty demoralizing.
Wow. Well, sorry for your nephew then.
Yeah.
I actually went to bed when it was 21-0 Atlanta, so I was ready to cheer for you guys.
Yeah.
When
We were too, trust me.
Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, any similarity to the feeling you felt in 05 at the Masters?
A lot of the same type of dejection. Obviously, the biggest game that he could ever play, and I felt so bad for my nephew and how hard they worked to get there and how much of a team they were going in, and just for them to come up that far short, just that little bit was tough.
That's why we watch sports, why we love sports. A big 2-hour edition of Morning Drive headed your way. Let's say good morning to Bailey Moser. She has top stories. What's up, Bailey?
Good morning. Yeah, I watched it. I was rooting for a closer game, and then before I knew it, I was like, wait, I didn't know what I was rooting for. Not that I was truly rooting for either, but I was like, wait, what did I just root for? I jinxed it.
It's a great game.
It was an incredible game. Good morning, Damon, you guys at the desk. Good morning to you at home. Here are the top stories for today, this Tuesday. According to a new report from Global Golf Post, two-time major champion Stacey Lewis is going to skip several events this season, including the Evian Championship, the final major on the LPGA schedule. Lewis, who recently got married last August, said that she intends to spend more time focusing on family. And the PGA Tour Champions is back in action this week at the Allianz Championship in Boca Raton, Florida. The field for the second event of the season includes defending champion Esteban Toledo, Fred Couples, John Daly, Bernhard Langer, and more. And the PGA Tour heads to Pebble Beach this week for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. World #1 Jason Day headlines the field, which includes Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, and Phil Mickelson, as well as celebrities Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Timberlake, and Bill Murray. Damon, Pebble Beach sounds like the place to be this week, doesn't it?
Oh, I love Pebble Beach, that felicitous meeting of land and sea. Jason Day's record at AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am very strong. He has 5 top 14 finishes, including that tie for 4th place back in 2015. In fact, why don't we go back and look at what Jason did just a couple of years ago? The first round, Chris DeMarco on the 12th green, 25 feet away for birdie.
You know, and when Pebble Beach gets those dry conditions, the greens get smoother, and you can see he knocks this one right dead center.
Finishes the day at even par, and then we move forward to the 4th round. Jason Day on the fairway, the par 5, 6th hole, one of the most scenic on the property.
I love how he just picks these long irons. You can see not much of a divot. He just nice and clean off the ground, hits it right. 6 is tough because you don't know really where you're going, but he hits this perfect, lands it just short, bounces it up there just about 10 feet.
Unbelievable. He would have that for eagle. Look at that sunshine. When that place is gorgeous, there's not a better place maybe in golf. Paige McKenzie now putting for eagle.
Yeah, and we saw Jason Day make a lot of putts last season as well in 2016, #1 on the PGA Tour in putting.
And that eagle would move him to 4 under on the day, 16 under for the tournament. Now on the tee, the par 3, 7th hole, one of the most photographed pictures for places in golf.
And probably one of the only par 3s that you can hit a 4-iron or a wedge, depending on the wind direction. And he definitely has a wedge in his hand on this particular day. Not an ounce of breeze.
Look at those flowers, and look at that spin to about 4 feet. You go out to make birdie, 5 under on the day, 17 under for the tournament. He finished 5 shots behind Brandt Snedeker, who won the AT&T Pebble Beach for the 2nd time. But Jason Day, back in action this week. He's the #1 player in the world, coming off a miscut. What makes a successful 2017 for Jason Day, Paige?
I think winning golf tournaments, and then probably throw a major in there as well.
Has he reached that level where it's a disappointment?
#1 in the world?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. There's nowhere else to go.
Yes, he's reached that level.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously expectations are on him now. I mean, everybody's looking at Jason Day as one of the top players in the world because he has been there consistently for the last couple of years. Last year he didn't get a major, did win TPC, won a couple other times. This year, you know, the putter, I think, is the key for Jason Day. #1 in putting last year. We saw Jordan Spieth struggle a little bit with the putter, actually kind of tinker a few things, and started thinking about it instead of just realizing that's how golf is. You can't make every putt every week on every golf course. You're going to miss some putts. If you just stay patient, you'll be rolled again. We just need to see him. If his putter works like it did last year, he's going to be in the winner's circle for a major.
It is interesting that we're talking about so much about how golf is a power game, but when you look at Jordan Spieth or Jason Day the last couple years, like they've made putting sexy. Like they're the ones that that was their, I guess, what they relied on the most, and that's what they excelled at the most. So it is kind of an interesting little shift that we're seeing. Not that they're not power players, because Jason Day, now, when you talk about what people want to watch.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, I mean, do you think it's fair that the Tiger always had that standard? You win a major championship or the season's a disappointment. Jason Day, in that book, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, I mean, Dustin Johnson. I mean, how many players are we going to hold to that standard? Because last year, Jason Day did not win a major championship, but he won the Players, and he won a WGC event as well, not to mention Bay Hill.
Nobody's going to ever get to that standard. Tiger Woods was somewhere where nobody else will ever be. There's just no chance that somebody can get to that level. Winning what he was doing, I mean, he had all 4 majors on his mantle at one time. Yes, he did. So, and probably the most underrated thing, I think, that everybody took Tiger a little bit for granted with the putting. He was the best putter in the world for 7 or 8 or 9 years there. He did not miss those big putts that mattered. And that's what these guys did last year and Jordan Spieth 2 years ago. And that's why you win majors.
What part of this game is most interesting to watch for you as we head to Augusta National, the first major championship of the year?
Well, for me, I love watching him hit the driver. There's a couple reasons. Number one, he's a great driver of the golf ball. Hits it very long, powerful. But the other thing is because I look at it and it looks like it hurts. And that's intriguing to me given Jason Day's history with injury. And so I keep an eye on that because we get a lot of feedback from him, you know, after he hits shots, if he is at all having any ailments. We kind of see it there as well.
You're concerned?
I am concerned. I am concerned just because of his history. I mean, it's been known, whether it's vertigo or whether it's his back or any number of things. Jason Day's been injury prone throughout his career.
He's got a lot of speed in that golf swing, and with a lot of speed, little back problems here or there, and that's what he's been susceptible to that. So hopefully we don't see that. We want to see a healthy Jason Day. If we see that this year, we will see him in the major.
Do you watch him with concern? I mean, Tiger Woods, the question was, you know, can he play, you know, have a long career like Jack Nicklaus, swinging the golf club the way he does? Jason Day turns 30 years old in November. Do you have concerns as well, long-term for him, because of what we've seen in the last 5?
You see, and you think Jason Day at 30 years old is relatively young. This is 12 or 13 years now on the PGA Tour. Started when he was young, obviously. You know, I do have concerns. I really do, and I hope he stays healthy. That's my main concern for him this year is just stay healthy for the whole year.
And he touches on that too. He's touched on that at the end of the season, saying he goes and gets checked up by the doctors. He says, I don't want to walk with a cane when I'm 40. Like, it's a concern of his, so it becomes a concern of ours.
Yeah, back spasms for Tiger and obviously injury history for Jason Day. For more on Jason Day, let's say good morning to Travis Fulton, Golf Channel Academy lead coach. What's up, Travis?
How you doing, guys? Well, Paige likes the driver with the #1. DeMarco, you pointed out the putting, and I know you like the iron game, Damon, and I like the wedge game, the short game. Let's face it, he really doesn't have any weaknesses. Take your pick through all 14 clubs. Jason Day can operate them, but it's really the short game for me that I enjoy watching with Jason Day. He can hit a variety of shots, kind of has a unique hinge going back, and I think there's some things that we can learn from that, and I want to share with you a couple shots here. So let's take a look at this video here. The first one, TPC Sawgrass here, of course, en route to winning the Players Championship. A little bump and run. He can play the ground game. He can hit it up, let it check into the bank, and that one goes down. And then he can take the ball up in the air as well. Much bigger swing. Look at that, way up in the air, more trajectory. And you can see the ball settle down with a little bit more spin. So when you look at those 2 shots, one low, one high, and you watch how Jason Day hits these shots, the first thing that really jumps out to me is the way that he takes the club back. It's a very wide takeaway for the most part with all of these short game shots. And what I mean by wide is his hands stay away from his chest. He doesn't really use his lead rest to lever the club head up like we see with a lot of players. Phil Mickelson really gets the club head working up like that, and so does Tiger. So Jason's very wide going back, really uses the right elbow to move the club head more up and down. Now, there's pros and cons to both. I think when you stay wide and you use the right elbow, the tendency is the attack angle can shallow out. You don't have to be quite as precise. Sometimes I'll see amateurs, they get very narrow in here like this, club head works up, and then it becomes very V-shaped into impact. You gotta be very precise and clever with the hands at impact to shallow that out. So when you go wide and you use the right elbow and the club head's still working up, then it can come in a little bit more of a U shape, and that shallows out the attack angle and can really help you as far as a point of entry. You don't have to be so precise. Now, when you watch Jason here on the other side, that lower shot, what you saw with Jason is kind of took it back to here, but then he stayed wide coming through. His hand stayed out away from his chest like this. That kept the ball flight down and ran out. And then on the bunker shot, of course, a little different setup where you got the handle lower. Similar takeaway, using the right elbow, a little longer in arm swing, but instead of staying wide here, he narrowed it up into a much fuller finish. So this week, when you watch Jason Day, watch the right elbow. Look how he stays wide going back, but on the low ones, he'll stay wide coming through out here. And then on the higher ones with more speed, he'll narrow it up into a full finish. So a lot of creativity. The guy's got no weaknesses, but for me, Bailey, the short game really stands out.
Well, when Jason Day is playing well and he is healthy, he is fun to watch. I will be watching his short game this week. Thank you, Travis, for that. Time now for your morning tee sheet. So it doesn't always work out that way, that you're playing your best. The dreaded pull, it cost Ben on his 54-hole lead and ultimately the tournament on Sunday in Scottsdale. So coming up, we have the shot that unraveled his round, and we're here to help you avoid making the same mistake the next time you tee it up. And last week's runner-up at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, Webb Simpson, had a much improved putting week that almost landed him in the winner's circle for the first time since 2013. So if you want to putt like the best players on the PGA Tour, then you need to get fit for your putter. Matt Adams has more later this morning. And the PGA Tour champions, they are back in action this week at the Allianz Championship, where Jeff Sluman, a 6-time winner on the senior circuit, is looking to make waves early in 2017. Sluman is joining us live in Hour 2 with the status of his game and his take on some of the issues facing golf today. We are here with you until 9 a.m., but now we say good morning to Matt Janella as we send it over to him for some social media.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you, Bailey, and good morning to you. Coming up on today's show, why Pebble Beach is my #1 public course in the country. Plus, to play Pebble Beach is to be distracted by the views throughout the round. I'm sharing my 5 favorite places to take a picture, which leads us to our social component of the day. Send us your photos of the best view you've seen on a golf course. Use hashtag #MDBestViews on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll run some throughout the show. Stay with us. Lots more Morning Drive right after the break.